That's right. I absolutely agree. Something that the Quran talks about heaven and hell, not being places, but being actually states of mind. So what we learn in the Moorish Science Temple of America is those particular lessons and exercises that allows for us to master our minds. So in mastering our minds, we know that we actually create, our living conditions or our living mind space. My brother Shay Rail used to always talking about, having the chaotic mind space versus the peaceful mind space and the ability to create this space for yourself. And as a Moorish American, somebody who knows themselves, they know that this ability, that this capacity actually exists within them. Islam, Islam, Islam. Brother Maurice Pennington Bay, the Moorish Master student, one of the Moorish Master students. Talk about having a peaceful mind space, versus a chaotic mind space. It's a choice. We can decide if whether or not we want to strive towards peace. I remember coming up in the Moorish Science Temple of America years ago and reading a portion where it demonstrates that the prophet Jesus, being asked if he was, the Prince of Peace, he said that the Prince of Peace must first be the Prince of Strife. He said that, peace is something that we have to win. It's not something that's, automatically handed over to us by life. Life, requires that we actually earn peace, and that we deserve peace, because the key is to become one with peace, to become, at harmony with everything that's around us. And it's not something that just happens easily or happens overnight, especially when you've spent years living an unpeaceful lifestyle, a chaotic lifestyle, and, learning a whole bunch of things that now you have to unlearn. I mean, to put it simply, it's like, today we have so many, habits, we have so many, beliefs, so many opinions that we have to, learn to let go of, because they're actually harming our life more than they could ever, serve us in any good, meaningful way. Um, this is the Night of Power, the Divine Podcast, right? So this is where we study the prophets of Allah, the prophets of God. In the Moorish Science Temple of America, our religion is Islamism. And one of the articles of faith for every Muslim all over the world is that we must believe in all of Allah's prophets. So it's a requirement that we get to know all of Allah's prophets so much as we can. I mean, the truth of the matter is that no one even know who all of Allah's prophets is, or who they are. But those who we do know who they are is, incumbent upon us, and it's to our benefit that we actually get to know their life works and teachings, because these are thoughts of Allah manifested in flesh. And if we want to, better our own conditions, then we have to be better at living. And these are our examples. So today we talk about John. And I don't believe that anybody could ever say something about John that could, you know, be more important or better than what his own little cousin had to say about him. So I'm gonna read what the prophet Jesus had to say about his big cousin John the Baptist. I'm gonna read from the book of Matthew, chapter number 11, and it starts off by saying, "Now it came to pass when Jesus finished commanding his 12 disciples that he departed from there to teach and to preach in their cities. And when John had heard in prison about the works of Christ, he sent two of his disciples and said to him, 'Are you the coming one, or do we look for another?' Jesus answered and said to them, 'Go and tell John the things which you hear and see. The blind see, and the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. And blessed is he who is not offended because of me.' As they departed, Jesus began to say to the multitudes concerning John, 'What did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind? But what did you go out to see? A man clothed in soft garments? Indeed, those who wear soft garments are in kings' houses. But what did you go out to see? A prophet. Yes, I say to you, and more than a prophet. For this is he of whom it is written, behold, I send my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way before you. Assuredly, I say to you, among those born of women, there has not risen one greater than John the Baptist. But he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and the law prophesied unto John. And if you are willing to receive it, he is Elijah who is to come. Okay. Y'all know how I feel about Elijah, man. Elijah was a bad man. Okay. He was a bad man. You know, Elijah confronted 400 false prophets. False prophets of Baal. He confronted these 400 false prophets standing alone, all by himself. Or at least that's how it appeared that he was standing by himself. But he knew, he knew who he had standing with him, who was with him. So he wasn't worried about what he had to face. He knew that any weapon formed against him would not prosper. Okay? And he challenged them 400 false prophets, saying to them, we're going to call on our God. You call on your God, I'm going to call on my God. Whatever God answers, that is the true and the living God. Whatever God don't answer, he's fake. And whoever God don't answer, then the other must die. The other must die. You cannot walk around here with these fake prophecies. You cannot walk around here scamming the people, embezzling the faith of those people who rely upon you to teach them the truth. You will not be allowed to do that. And God answered. And Elijah lived a life where, whenever he called on God, God answered. But he had committed all his days to do the work of Allah. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America says about John the Baptist, it say the vow for you was made in infancy that you become a brother Nazarite. In infancy. So this was one who had sacrificed all his days to teach purity to men. Because purity in life, men do not comprehend. So it too had to come in flesh. So from the day he was born, all he had to do was to be purity made fresh, to live a life without being one influenced by outside forces or outside individuals or moved by the winds. Okay. The Prophet Muhammad had this to say about John the Baptist. It's a hadith, and it goes like this. It says that when John, or Yahya, that's his Arabic name, Yahya. It says that when Yahya was a child, all right, the other children came to Yahya and they said to Yahya, come on, let's go play. And Yahya looked at him and he said, we weren't made to play. We were not made to play, okay? This was a serious dude. But here it is, after sacrificing all his life, he found himself in prison. He lived a life of purity. All he did was teach men to be clean. But he found himself in prison because of his faith and because of his work. But he knew that he was the harbinger for one to come, thinking all of his days that the one to come was his little cousin, Jesus, the child of his mother's sister. But he had to ask himself, and he didn't just ask himself, he kept it 100. He sent his men to ask Jesus, man, are you truly the one? Have I given my life for naught? This, despite all that Jesus was accomplishing. To this day, 2,000 plus years later, we still hailing to Christ Jesus for good reason. For good reason, we hail in his work. We study his work on it every day. As moorishamerican, we got a whole book about what Jesus has done. These secret lessons are for all those who love Jesus. All right? This day, the night of power, I want to bring attention to the one who opened up the way for Jesus. Because the Quran said that no Korean the rock can bring down lofty hills and fill the valley up, but purity. So I want to talk about John. All right. I want to take a reading from the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America. I'm going to read from chapter number 14. I want to show y'all something. I asked myself a question a while back. I want to show y'all something. It says, when John was 30 years of age, he went into Jerusalem. And in the marketplace, he sat in silence 7 days. The common people and the priests, the scribes and the Pharisees came in multitudes to see the silent hermit of the hills. But none were bold enough to ask him who he was. But when his silent fast was done, he stood forth in the midst of all and said, behold, the king has come. The prophets told of him. The wise men long have looked for him. Prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. And that was all he said. And then he disappeared, and no one knew where he had gone. No one knew where he had gone. All right. But I want to bring our attention back to instruction number 6, where it says, but none were bold enough to ask him who he was. I asked myself years ago, when I was alone studying that particular chapter, I said, well, why did they have to be bold? Like when you see people, some people, they got an aura, they got the aura of the unapproachable. But this is a prophet of Allah. This is Allah's prophet, a prophet of God. So why did they have to be bold? So I had to rethink. I had to put myself back into that time. And I realized that we were talking about one of the infant claimants to the throne of the fake pseudo king that was sitting on the throne in Jerusalem at that time. John was one of the infant claimants to that throne. The Quran says that this pseudo king, Archelaus, the son of Herod, was a selfish and a cruel king who put to death all those who did not honor him. That's what he did. He put to death all those who did not honor him. And here was the infant claimant to his throne, a man grown now, sitting in the market for 7 days. He wasn't hiding. He sat there for 7 days in silence. While the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the scribes, and everybody else who passed by just to look at him and see him, he was right there. Well, why the king ain't sent his men to come and get him? Or did the men come? Remember, the king sent men to go get Elijah. Whole battalions, 50 men, go get Elijah. Tell him I said, come here, I want to holler at him. Elijah told him, man, y'all better get away from me. Man, the king say he trying to see, man, you jokers better get away from me. What happened when they ain't get away from? Say, man, he called down death upon them all. And death answered. Until the last man came. And we got a saying still to this day. What they say? Don't kill the messenger. Say the last captain of the battalion came and say, man, I'm only delivering the message for the king. Say, don't kill the messenger. Well, he is the one whom they say is Elijah come again. Sitting in the marketplace for 7 days. While this so-called selfish and cruel king is supposed to be seeking him out to kill him. But they ain't come trying to do no killing. They were not bold enough to approach him. What did he look like? I mean, it tells us, they give us an idea. They say the wild man of Engedi. But see, nowadays, our idea of what a wild man looked like is a little different than what the idea of what a wild man looked like in the past. Right? He was a Nazarite. Like Samson. Samson was a Nazarite. The book tells us that Samson slayed thousands. He slayed something like 5,000 jokers who came up against him with the jawbone of a donkey. So now I gotta try to paint the picture. Man, my man John was probably standing there with swords strapped to his back, crossbow bolts, and big, strong, swole joker. You know he ain't eating nothing but carrots and nuts. You know, John the Baptist. Say that while John was in prison, that he had done something. He was able to change the mind of his adversary about him. Say the king had become to be swayed towards John's preaching. But he had taken a liking, a real serious, like he had got a crush on this young girl. And when the young girl mother found out that the king was crushing on her, she told the young girl, after the king said, "I'll give you anything you want, up to half of my kingdom. I'll give you anything you want. Just give me your hand. I'll give you anything you want." She went and ran and told her mom, "Hey, mom, man, the king, he offered me anything. He trying to get this. He say, man, if I give him this, he gonna give me anything." So she probably, thinking to herself, like, yeah, I want half of the kingdom, you understand me? I want give me a portion of Jerusalem, a little bit of Judah. But her mama saying, tell him you want John the Baptist's head on a silver platter. Tell the king you want John the Baptist's head on a silver platter. And that's what she did. She told the king, she said, "You want this? Give me John the Baptist's head on a silver platter." And he was crushing so bad, that's what he did. One of Allah's greatest prophets, lost his form like that. Just like that. But he had done his job, right? He had done his job. The Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America teaches us that, after Jesus left the wilderness where he had went for self-examination, that he entered into the camps of John. The camps, not the camp, the camps. See, John had thousands of followers. He led a huge movement, okay? Which brings us to this era of time now. Because the prophet Jesus reminds us, he say, "I remember when I was Jesus." He tells Rome, he say he got him in a bottle and he got the stopper in his hand. He say that those who was with him 2,000 years ago are with him now. See, we were there. But there was one who was to the prophet Jesus that lived in our era named Prophet Noble Ali. That was as John the Baptist was to him in the days of old. Brother Marcus Mosiah God. Purity made flesh. All right. Marcus Mosiah God, he said that when he first came to America and he went to go and visit the so-called leaders of the Asiatic race at that time, he said the one thing that they didn't have was a program for the people. They had no program for the people, something that would lead them into success, something that would help them to build up their own nation. And he began to establish these programs with a simple question: where is ours? Where is ours? We are a people, therefore we should have our own. We are a nation. We should have our own leaders. We should have our own schools to educate our young people. We should have our own police force to enforce laws within our own communities. We should employ our own people and back from our own people, support our own people. grow our own food. You see? All of these teachings of John the Baptist who lived in our era of time, who came here from Jamaica, it helped ones to be able to understand, to be able to digest what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali had for us. When the Prophet Noble Drew Ali starts to teach us our nationality and our divine creed. Okay. See, we were prepared to establish our own because Marcus Mosiah Garvey had prepared the people for this. And what happened to Marcus Mosiah Garvey? Purity made flesh again found himself in prison. He found himself in prison. That's right. That's right. You see, because the Quran teaches us that the public is unstable and ungrateful. You see, these people who have established a system that systematically makes it difficult for the Asiatics to rise above their current condition are absolute idiots. They stupid. They living for the moment, not considering the future, not considering what they are doing to a future. Yes, technologically we are far more advanced even than we were 20 years ago before I went to prison. But I always like to think, where would we be? Where would we be if every idea was free to express itself and not imprisoned by poverty and substance abuse? All of the other mental illnesses, laboratory created diseases that come and cause pandemics that just slaughter one group of people over all the rest. Just slaughter them, destroy them. Where would we be if we didn't have to contend against this? Where would we be if ones would pay attention and follow the examples of purity? Where would we be? For 18 years, John wrote in the sacred schools, where he became a mastermind and learned the duties of the harbinger, a mastermind. You know, this is one thing I respect about the Moors of America and the Asiatics today. We don't just toss that word around. We toss a lot of titles and stuff around. We give no respect to the title of sheep, adept. We give them no respect. But at least you ain't got a whole rack of idiots running around claiming that they are masterminds. Because the mind is an incredible thing. And when I just think that a person mastered it, all I can say is wow. All I can say is wow. So honor to the ancestors, the prophets who came before the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, prepare the way, you know. Being a Moorish scientist, a master student of the master teacher, Professor Drew Ali, I know that Allah loves us so much that more prophets are going to come to build upon what even the Prophet Noble Drew Ali has established. As long as we need, the Father of the universe will provide. Okay. Husband, you must support your wife and children. This is the law. This is the law. And one thing we learn from scripture, Allah obeys his own laws. He does. Islam, he obeys his own laws. You know. Peace and love.